When my girlfriend was at her lowest, I broke up with her. Years later, after she found success and fame, she used every means possible to marry me. Everyone said I was her one true love, her most treasured husband. But in reality, every night she brought a different man home, shattering my heart and turning me into a laughingstock. I never fought back. I never cried or argued. I simply moved into the study, quietly staying out of her way. She hated that. One night, furious, she kissed me roughly and whispered, "Aren't you jealous?" What she didn't know was that I was sick. While she spent each day trying to hurt me, I was silently counting down how many days I had left to live. In the third year of our marriage, my wife, Claire, started keeping a young, handsome college student. His name was Ryan. He was tall, good-looking, and exactly Claire's type. She kept him around for over 6 months, longer than any of the others. My friends warned me to be careful. They said Claire seemed genuinely attached to Ryan. The first time I met him was on my birthday. That morning, I'd woken up with a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. At the hospital, the doctor told me I probably wouldn't live past spring next year. I nodded calmly and said, "That's fine." I wasn't afraid of dying, I just didn't want it to hurt. There was an expensive medication that could ease the pain, but I didn't have enough money to afford it. So, I went to Claire's office to ask for help. That's where I ran into Ryan. He had just graduated and was working as Claire's assistant. Claire was in a meeting, so I sat in the lobby to wait. Ryan kept glancing at me, then leaned over to whisper to his coworkers, "So, that's the husband? He looks awful, so skinny and sickly, like he's on his deathbed." He laughed and added, "People say I look like him, but I don't see it. I'm way better looking." I caught my reflection in the glossy glass wall. Messy hair, a puffy coat that made me look even frielier. He wasn't wrong. I wasn't much to look at, just a man waiting to die. A coworker nudged him and whispered, "Don't underestimate him. If he cleaned up, you wouldn't even compare. And don't forget, Claire loves him. If you piss him off, she'll destroy you." Ryan wasn't convinced. He rolled his eyes and smirked. He brought me a cup of tea and asked mockingly, "So, Mr. Baker, why is Claire making you wait so long?" "It's weird. Whenever I stop by, no matter how busy she is, she always makes time for me. She says I'm her priority." He smiled smugly, and for a moment, I saw a bit of my younger self in him. I thought about it. Claire did treat Ryan differently. She'd had countless lovers over the years, using them as pawns in her game to provoke me. Every night, she brought home someone new, testing my limits. But she never kept them around for long. A day or two, maybe a week. She always got bored quickly. Ryan, though, was different. She spoiled him. She took him out to dinner, shopping, and movies. They acted like an ordinary, happy couple. She gave him money, but she also gave him affection. I looked at him and smiled gently. If you're so important to her, why settle for being her dirty little secret? You should convince her to divorce me and marry you instead. Ryan's expression darkened instantly. He glared at me, his voice shaking with anger. "You're the one who's useless here. You're nothing but a kept man. You only got to her first. But now? You're old, you're ugly. What could you possibly offer her?" His coworker hurried over, pulling him away, clearly worried I'd be upset. But I wasn't. I'd promised myself long ago that I wouldn't get angry because of Claire. I wouldn't feel sad because of her. And I definitely wouldn't stoop to competing with her lovers. She wasn't worth it. Ryan was pulled back by a coworker, but he lost his balance, fell to the ground, and shattered the teacup in his hand. Blood poured from the deep cut on his palm, pooling on the floor. Through the glass of the conference room, Claire saw what had happened. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, she threw down her papers, pushed the door open, and hurried over to Ryan. She grabbed his hand with visible distress, frowning as she examined his injury. Her voice was cold as she asked, "Who did this to him?" The coworker who had tried to help Ryan stepped back in fear, their face pale. I let out a dry laugh. It was me. And honestly, he deserved it. Ryan gritted his teeth and glared at me, then shouted, "Yeah, I deserved it. I fell for someone I shouldn't have. I'm the one being called a kept man, a plaything." "But Claire," he said, looking into her eyes with a mix of defiance and passion, "as long as you love me, I'll stay by your side forever. No one can take me away from you." The words were absurd, but the way he said them, so firm, so sincere, made him seem almost brave. Claire couldn't help but laugh. She reached out to ruffle his hair and said softly, "Don't be mad. You're going to make me worry." She treated him differently. That much was obvious. I lowered my gaze, no longer interested in the scene. Instead, I calmly said to Claire, "For my birthday this year, I want $50,000. It was funny, really. We were married, yet we didn't even have each other's phone numbers. The only time I reached out to her was when I needed money. Before we got married, we had an agreement. She wanted me, and I wanted her money." Claire had always hated how materialistic I was. But in the past, no matter how much I asked for, she would always give it to me without hesitation. This time, though, she looked at me with a cold smile and said slowly, "You can have the money. But, Isaac, first, lower your proud head and apologize to Ryan." Claire was willing to pay $50,000 to buy back my dignity and give it to Ryan in the form of an apology. It was the first time she had used money to humiliate me for the sake of another man. I clenched my fists and forced a laugh, holding back the sudden wave of pain that surged through my body. I turned and walked away. I didn't need the money anymore. For the first time, I was curious about Claire. If one day she found out that this money could have given me more time to live, if she knew how much I'd suffered before I died, what kind of expression would she have then? I went home alone, curling up in bed in pain, drenched in a cold sweat. After taking a sleeping pill, I told myself, if I fall asleep, it won't hurt anymore. Half asleep, I dreamed of when I was 20 years old. Claire was dirt poor back then, but she loved me deeply. That year, on my birthday, I walked past a cafe and saw a couple sitting by the window. The boy was holding a white cake. It looked delicate, delicious, and expensive. I still remember the snow falling heavily that day. I scooped up a mound of snow, turned to Claire, and grinned. "Claire, doesn't this look like a cake?" She bit her lip, pulled me into her arms, and held me tight. She didn't let me see the tears welling up in her eyes. 3 days later, she showed up outside my dorm with a cake. When I saw the frostbite on her fingers, my eyes turned red with anger. Through gritted teeth, I told her, "Claire, your hands are meant for reading and writing, not for ruining just to make me happy." I said I didn't deserve such an expensive cake. She frowned and immediately shot back, "Isaac, you're the best person in the world. You deserve all the good things it has to offer." That day, I ate the entire cake through tears. I don't even remember what it tasted like anymore. I just know that after that, I never had a cake that tasted better. I slept for a long time. Half conscious, I heard my phone ringing. When I picked it up, Claire's voice came through. Isaac, she said. I smiled faintly, my voice soft as I replied, Claire, it's snowing. I want cake. Before she could respond, I turned over and fell back into a deep sleep. I slept until the middle of the night when hunger woke me up. I went to the kitchen to find something to eat, only to realize Claire had come back. She had bought Ryan a big house. They lived there together. He cooked for her, made her laugh, and waited for her to come home. Claire seemed happy. She hadn't been back here in a long time. She leaned lazily against the floor-to-ceiling window, her eyes fixed on me. I kept my head down and walked past her, only for her to grab my arm. Frowning, she asked softly, why have you lost so much weight? Her tone was gentle, almost like she still cared about me. For a moment, I froze before yanking my arm away and snapping, Claire, what's wrong with you now? She glanced at her empty hand, her face slowly turning cold. It wasn't until I reached the dining table and saw a cake covered in candles that I realized the phone call hadn't been a dream. I'd said I wanted cake, and Claire had bought one. What was this? A peace offering? But I was dying. I didn't need a cake, or her, anymore. Grabbing the cake, I threw it straight into the trash. Claire frowned, then shoved me against the wall, her voice sharp. Isaac, are you messing with me? I smiled, unbothered. Yeah, Claire, I'm messing with you. The what? I said I wanted cake, and you went and bought one. God, you're just as pathetic as you used to be. I twisted the knife deliberately, watching her expression grow colder by the second. Her face darkened completely as she grabbed my collar and dragged me into the bedroom. She shoved me down onto the bed, her movements rough and unrestrained. Claire was furious. Her lips crashed onto mine, hard enough to split the corner of my mouth. I shoved her off, my voice icy. Don't touch me, Claire. You disgust me. But she lunged at me again, biting down on my neck. The sharp pain made me suck in a breath. Her voice was low and harsh against my ear. Isaac, would it kill you to give in to me for once? Do you even know how long I've waited for you to come to me? How many years I've waited for you to just talk to me? Do you know how happy I was when you said you wanted cake? And then you turn around and treat me like a joke? She pulled back, her eyes red and brimming with tears, staring at me as if waiting for an answer. My own eyes stung as I glared back at her. The room was dim and suffocating, and neither of us said a word. Claire leaned in closer, her lips just inches from mine when her phone suddenly rang. It was Ryan. She paused, then answered it. I could hear Ryan's voice, tearful and trembling. Claire, are you really leaving me for him? You love me. I know you do. I'm at a bar right now. I've had a lot to drink, and some woman started talking to me. I hate her. Please come get me. Take me home, Claire. Please. Claire said nothing at first. She just stared at me, her lips curling into a cold, mocking smile. Then she spoke, her voice soft but commanding. Isaac, beg me. Beg me to stay, and I won't leave. She must have forgotten. A long time ago, I'd already begged her. I'd swallowed my pride and asked, Claire, can we just sit down and talk calmly? Can we stop fighting? Can't we just be happy together? Can you treat me better? I remember how she had stared at me back then, her gaze cold as ice. And she'd smiled as she said, Isaac, you don't deserve it. Those words had stayed with me ever since, lodged deep in my heart. And now, finally, I could say them back to her. Grabbing her collar, I looked her dead in the eye and said, slowly and deliberately, Claire, you don't deserve it. She froze for a moment, then let out a bitter laugh. Raising the phone to her ear, she said to Ryan, I'm coming to get you. Without another glance at me, she stood up, slammed the door, and walked out.